You walk into your apartment after a long day. The mail is piled up. The new gadgets you bought sat on the counter, unopened. Half of them you barely remember ordering. You feel a twinge of excitement for a second. And then, nothing. The rush fades, leaving you with the same tired, restless feeling that started you shopping in the first place. The quick spark of excitement when something new lands in your life. The click, the checkout, the arrival. For a moment, it feels like it matters, like it fills a gap. And yet, very quickly, the feeling fades. The gap is still there. That moment is something many of us chase without even realizing it. Welcome back to Dose of Confidence. I'm Em, and today we're talking about overconsumption. Why we keep buying things. This isn't just about buying too much. It's about something more, something that shows up in small everyday decisions. The kind of decisions you don't question, the kind of decisions that feel normal until you start noticing the pattern. What is overconsumption? Overconsumption isn't just about spending money, and it's not always obvious. It doesn't always look like extremes. Sometimes it's just buying things you didn't plan to, getting more than you truly need, whether it's products, food, or media, or replacing something that still works, or constantly feeling like what you have isn't quite enough. It's not about having things. It's the feeling of filling your life with those things, hoping to feel whole, but realizing the fullness is temporary. It's about the gap between what you need and what you keep reaching for, and that gap can slowly grow without you noticing. But why do we overconsume? A lot of it starts before you even realize. You're exposed to things constantly, not always in a loud way, just in the background. A product in a video, a recommendation in a conversation, something a friend owns, and without making a clear decision, you feel like you should have this thing. You didn't choose to, you picked it up by being around it. And slowly, what you already have starts to feel slightly incomplete. Then there is the internal side. Moments where nothing is clearly wrong, but something feels off. You feel bored, or you feel off, or just restless. You don't need a big change, just something to break the feeling. And buying something can change that feeling. Even if temporarily, it gives you direction in a moment that feels flat. You go from not knowing what to do to doing something, even if it's small. It feels like movement, and that feeling is easy to get used to. There is also how effortless it is. You don't need to think much. You don't need to plan. It's immediate. A few seconds, a few taps. So the decision doesn't feel like a decision. It feels like a reflex. And when it becomes that easy, you stop questioning it. Over time, it blends into your routine. Something you do without thinking about why. And underneath all of that, there is another layer. Most of the time, you're not really looking for the item. You're looking for what it represents. A way to interrupt a feeling, a way to shift your state, a way to feel a little more in control. Sometimes you don't want to sit with what you're feeling, so you reach for something that pulls your attention away. Other times it's comfort. Something new can feel like a small reward, a way of saying, I deserve something. And other times it's about control. When things feel unclear, choosing something gives you a sense of direction, even if it doesn't solve anything, and it can be so subtle that you don't notice it happening. An urge that feels small but repeats often, not because you need the thing, but because of the feeling it promises. And once that connection forms, it's no longer just about what you buy. It's about what buying has come to mean in the moment you reach for it. But does it really help? When you buy something, there's a small shift, a sense of control, a sense of change. For a moment, the feeling you had gets quieter. And that's why it works. But only for a moment, because the reason you felt off is still there. So the relief fades. And what left is either nothing or sometimes regret. Not always a strong sense of regret, just a subtle awareness that it didn't really solve anything. And that's where the cycle builds. You don't chase the item, you chase the brief left. And you might notice that the urge to buy feels stronger when you're feeling low, because when you feel low, your tolerance drops. You don't want to sit with the feeling. You want something to interrupt it. Buying does that quickly. It gives you something to focus on, something to anticipate. It creates a small sense of progress, even if nothing actually changed. So your mind starts linking the two, feeling low, then buying. It's not a solution, it's just an escape, and the more it happens, the more automatic it becomes. The question isn't whether we should stop buying things. That's not realistic, and it's not the point. The real question is whether the decision feels intentional or automatic. There is nothing wrong with enjoying what you can afford, but there's a difference between choosing something and reacting to a feeling. One comes from clarity, the other comes from discomfort. And when you start noticing that difference, your behavior starts to change without forcing it. Don't start with restriction, start with awareness. Pause before you buy something, not to stop yourself, just to understand what made you want it. Was it the item or the feeling before it? Give it time. Even a few hours change how things feel. And then we can learn to start separating the urge from the action. You don't need perfect control. You just need space between the feeling and the decision. Possessing something doesn't mean it serves you. The real question is, does it add value to your life or does it just fill space? If it's the latter, consider letting it go. Start small. Donate, sell, or gift things that sat untouched. Notice how your space and mind react. The act of letting go is often quieter than the thrill of acquiring, but it can leave a lasting sense of clarity. Overconsumption isn't really about things. It's a way of responding to feelings we can't always name. The challenge isn't stopping yourself entirely. It's seeing why you reach for more. When you recognize the patterns, you create the chance to choose differently. Maybe you pause before the next click, or notice the thrill fade, or find something simpler that fills the gap without leaving it wider. And once you see that, it becomes easier to understand what's actually happening when you feel that urge. Because most of the time, you weren't looking for the thing. You were looking for how you thought it would feel. If this video helped you, feel free to subscribe and share it with someone who might need it. And let me know what other topics you'd like to hear about next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.